corridor smelled like overheated wiring and regret, which, in my experience, meant the station's ventilation system was having another emotional breakdown. I was halfway through arguing with a vending unit that refused to accept my credits on philosophical grounds when the lights dimmed, flickered, and settled into that ominous red glow every sane person associates with imminent disaster. Somewhere, a siren began to wail, then immediately coughed and died as if embarrassed by its own enthusiasm. Perfect, I muttered. I didn't want to get home early anyway. I turned, already rehearsing the speech I would give to the station authority about how this was not technically my fault, and walked directly into something solid. Not wall solid. More like person solid, except walls usually apologize less. I stumbled back, nearly tripping over my own boots, and looked up. She stood there without moving, like the universe had decided to pause and admire its own work. At first glance she looked human enough. 2 arms, 2 legs, balanced and alert, posture relaxed in the way only people who can kill you effortlessly ever are. Her eyes were sharp and focused, reflecting the red emergency lights with an intensity that suggested she was cataloging every possible way this encounter could end. Then I noticed her ears. They were long, tapering gracefully backward from her head, extending well past where human ears had any right to be. One of them twitched slightly, and I had the irrational urge to apologize to it specifically. We stared at each other in silence. Somewhere behind me, the vending unit beeped, as if offering emotional support. I said, because I am a master of language under pressure. Sorry, low visibility, faulty lighting, existential dread. She looked down at me, then very deliberately glanced up at the ceiling, which was indeed low, and reached up to rub the tip of one long ear with 2 fingers. This station was designed by someone who hated tall people, she said. Her voice was calm, slightly rough, and carried an accent that bent my translator implant into shapes it clearly hadn't trained for yet. Or by someone who wanted my people dead. I blinked. Both could be true. Her mouth twitched, not quite a smile but something adjacent to one, like the idea of a smile passing through her mind and deciding it wasn't dressed for the occasion. She studied me again, slower this time, and I became acutely aware of how small I was in comparison. Not just in height, though she had at least a head on me, but in presence. She felt heavy in the air, like gravity had taken a personal interest in her. You are not armed, she said. That's not entirely accurate, I replied. I have a spoon. Her gaze dropped to my hand. I realized I was still holding the bent piece of metal I.D. pried from the vending unit in a moment of optimism. She looked back at my face. A spoon. Not even a good one, I added. I lost a fight with pudding once. Another pause, then, unexpectedly, she let out a short breath that might have been a laugh if laughter had been raised in a warrior monastery and taught discipline from birth. Lower your weapon, she said. I lowered the spoon. The silence stretched again, thick and uncomfortable. I could feel my heart trying to escape through my ribs, filing a formal complaint about my life choices as it went. Every story I'd ever heard about alien warriors ran through my head at once. Unstoppable, merciless, genetically enhanced, emotionally unavailable. None of them mentioned long ears or complaints about architecture. Are you here to kill me? I asked. She tilted her head slightly, one ear angling forward, the other back. Is there a reason I should? I said, gesturing vaguely at myself. Statistically, probably, someone out there wants me dead. I once left a very honest review for a hyperspace taxi service. Her eyes narrowed. I do not know what that is. Lucky you. She took a step closer. The floor vibrated under her weight, just a little, like the station acknowledging her authority. I swallowed. I was sent here to find a human male, she said. You match the description. That's upsettingly vague. You are alive, she continued. This narrows it down. She was close enough now that I could see the faint scars along her arms, pale lines against skin that looked almost human but not quite. There was something subtly different in the way she moved, as if her muscles were coiled tighter, more efficient. I had the distinct impression that if she wanted to, she could lift me with one hand and throw me through several walls and into a different tax bracket. And, I asked, what happens when you find him? Her gaze held mine. For a moment the humor drained from the air, replaced by something colder and heavier. That depends, she said, on what kind of man he is. The lights flickered again, somewhere metal groaned. The station was not having a good day. Okay, I said, Before we continue whatever this is, can I just say that if you're going to kill me, I'd prefer it not be here. This corridor smells like melted insulation. She looked around, sniffed once and grimaced. Agreed. That was not the response I'd expected. She turned and gestured down the corridor. There is a safer section ahead, less insulation. I hesitated. Every survival instinct I had was screaming at me not to follow the extremely strong alien warrior with the combat scars and the calm voice. Unfortunately, every other option involved staying in a failing space station with a broken vending unit and my luck, which historically leaned toward tragic irony. Right, I said. Lead the way, just watch your ears. One ear flicked back toward me. I am painfully aware of my ears. We walked. As we moved, I noticed how effortlessly she navigated the dim corridors, stepping over debris and around fallen panels without breaking stride. At one point, a door jammed halfway open, sparking angrily. She stopped, frowned, and pushed it aside with one hand. The door crumpled like it had been waiting its whole life for permission to give up. I stared. That door was rated for explosive decompression. It was poorly motivated, she said. I decided not to argue with that logic. So, I ventured, because silence was doing terrible things to my nerves. You have a name. Or do I just scream, very strong alien lady, if something goes wrong? She considered this. You may call me what my unit calls me, or you may call me nothing. Those feel like very different options. She glanced at me again, and this time there was a hint of curiosity in her eyes. What do humans do in moments like this? We make jokes, I said, and bad decisions. She nodded slowly. Then we are aligned. For the first time since the lights went red, I felt something loosen in my chest. I still didn't know why she was here, or what she intended to do once she decided what kind of man I was. But as we walked together through the failing station, her long ears brushing dangerously close to the ceiling, I had the unsettling thought that the most dangerous thing about her wasn't her strength. It was that she was listening. We did not get very far before the station decided it wanted to participate more actively in our journey. The floor shuddered beneath our feet, not enough to throw us off balance, but enough to make the walls complain in a language of stressed metal. Somewhere above us, something heavy crashed, followed by the distant, very final sound of gravity winning an argument. She stopped instantly. I did not. I walked directly into her back, which was like colliding with a very polite mountain. Sorry, I said automatically, pressing my palms against her armor and then realizing far too late that touching an alien warrior uninvited was probably a bad career move. She did not react. Instead, she tilted her head, ears lifting slightly as if they were antennae tuned to disaster. Structural failure, she said. Localized, the station is not collapsing. That's reassuring, I said. In the same way being eaten by a small animal is reassuring compared to a large one. She glanced over her shoulder at me. Humans are strange. I've been saying that for years. She resumed walking faster now, her stride long and confident. I had to jog to keep up, which did terrible things to my dignity and my lungs. So, I said between breaths, your unit, the one that named you. Are they the invade planets and crush resistance type, or the stern looks and disappointing speeches type? They are both, she replied, often simultaneously. Efficient. We turned a corner and nearly ran into a small cluster of station security drones. They hovered uncertainly, their optics flickering as they tried to decide whether we were a threat, a problem, or paperwork. One of them projected a shaky hologram of a badge. Remain where you are, this section is under quarantine. She stepped forward, the drones adjusted their aim, I raised my hands. Hey everyone, let's all stay calm. No one do anything heroic or deeply regrettable. She reached out gently and pushed one drone aside. It spun, hit the wall, and shut down with a sad electronic chirp. The remaining drones froze. That was a warning, she said. The drones retreated immediately, bumping into each other in their hurry to leave. I stared at the empty corridor. You know, most people don't have a warning push that disables military hardware. He shrugged. They should train harder. We continued on. The air grew cooler, the lights steadier. My heart rate began to return to something resembling a human rhythm rather than an experimental percussion solo. I still don't understand why you need me, I said. I'm not important, I don't have secrets. I once tried to cook pasta in a radiation kettle. Her ears dipped slightly. You survived. Barely. She was quiet for a while after that. Not the tense silence from before, but something more thoughtful. My people, she said at last, believe strength is proven through domination, through victory, through the ability to end conflict decisively. And you disagree. I have ended many conflicts, she said. None of them stayed ended. We passed into a wider chamber, its walls scarred from old impacts, emergency lights casting long shadows. In the center lay a collapsed section of ceiling blocking the main path forward. I stopped. Well, that's unfortunate. She walked straight up to the rubble and crouched, examining it with professional interest. You are not thinking what I think you're thinking, I said. I am thinking that this is inconvenient, she replied, and that inconvenience can be removed. She planted her feet, gripped a massive slab of metal, and lifted. The sound it made was not dramatic. It was almost bored, like reality itself had decided not to argue. She moved the debris aside piece by piece, clearing a path. I stood there watching, feeling my understanding of physics quietly resign. When she finished, she straightened and looked at me. You may proceed. Thank you, I said. I'll just walk through the hole you made in my worldview. As we moved past the rubble, I noticed her breathing was steady, unchanged. The effort hadn't even registered. Does it ever get tiring? I asked, being like that. She considered, only when people expect me to be nothing else. We reached a junction where a series of transport rails intersected. A magtram sat dormant on the track, its power core flickering weakly. She stopped again. We can use this. I don't know how to drive one of those. You will not drive, she said. You will sit and try not to interfere. Those are my two best skills. Inside the tram, the seats were designed for species with different ideas about spine placement. I wedged myself in, knees pressed up against a console. She sat opposite me, entirely unbothered, long ears brushing the ceiling. The tram lurched into motion. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The hum of the engine filled the space, uneven but determined. Why compassion? I asked suddenly. She looked at me. What? You said your people value strength. You clearly have it. Why compassion? She leaned back, one hand resting on her knee. Because strength without restraint is noise. It ends things loudly but not meaningfully. That's surprisingly philosophical. She tilted her head. You expected less. I expected more stabbing. She made a sound that might have been amusement. There has been enough stabbing. The tram slowed as it approached another damaged section of track. Sparks flew outside the window. We may need to disembark soon, she said. Of course we do. The tram shuddered and stopped. She stood and held out a hand to steady me as I climbed down. Her grip was gentle, careful. For someone who could tear doors apart, she was very good at not doing so. As we moved forward on foot, alarms began to fade, replaced by the distant thrum of operational systems. We were closer to the station's core now. You still haven't told me your name, I said. She looked at me, really looked, and for the first time there was no calculation in her eyes. Names, she said, are given to those you intend to remember. My chest did something inconvenient. Well, I said lightly, I'm very memorable. I once tripped over a stationary object and apologized to it. One ear lifted. You are unusual. I get that a lot. We reached a sealed door marked with alien script and human warnings. She placed her palm against it. The lock disengaged with a hiss. Beyond it lay answers I wasn't sure I wanted. She paused just for a moment, then stepped aside and gestured for me to go first. I hesitated. You know, for someone sent to judge me, you're very polite. She inclined her head. Judgment does not require cruelty. I took a breath and stepped through. Behind me, the door closed, and whatever test awaited me did not feel like one of strength. It felt like one of choice. The room beyond the door was quieter than anything we had passed so far, and that alone made it unsettling. Machines hummed softly, not in distress but in contemplation, like they were thinking very hard about their responsibilities. Pale light flowed along the walls in slow pulses, and at the center of it all stood a circular platform surrounded by alien consoles layered with symbols that made my translator implant sigh audibly in defeat. She stepped in behind me, and the door sealed itself with a sound that suggested finality rather than security. This is the station's arbitration core, she said. It was designed to negotiate between species during disputes. Let me guess, I said, it hasn't been used in a while. It has not, she replied. War is faster. I nodded. War always is. Negotiation requires chairs. The platform lit up as we approached, and a holographic interface rose from its surface, projecting shifting forms that tried valiantly and unsuccessfully to resemble something neutral. A voice filled the chamber, layered and artificial, carrying the unmistakable tone of an entity that had been awake far too long. "Identify participants," it said. She stepped forward. "Designation, warrior class envoy, species." I'm just a guy," I interrupted. "No designation, species, tired." There was a pause. "Human male identified," the voice said at last. "Subject of inquiry." I felt my shoulders tense. "Inquiry about what exactly?" "About whether your continued existence constitutes a threat," the core replied. "Well," I said, "when you put it like that, it sounds rude." She turned to look at me. "This is why I was sent." "To kill me?" I asked quietly. "To decide if you should be killed," she corrected. "Much better." The platform brightened and images flickered around us, scenes of distant worlds, battles frozen mid-impact, ships breaking apart like fragile toys. I watched planets burn in silence, civilizations reduced to statistics, and felt very small. "My people," she said, her voice steady but tight, "believe preemptive force prevents greater suffering." "And does it?" I asked. She did not answer immediately. The core spoke again. "The subject has been identified as a statistical anomaly, repeated survival in high-risk environments, recurrent influence on outcomes disproportionate to physical capability." I stared. I knew my luck was suspicious. "Explain," the core demanded. She looked at me, then back at the projections. "He disrupts expectations." "That's my brand," I said. "Disruption with minimal effort." She took a breath. "He shows kindness when it is inefficient, humor when it is inappropriate, empathy when it is dangerous." The images shifted. Moments from our journey replayed: me offering a useless spoon, her moving debris aside, the drones retreating, the tram ride, the door she let me enter first. "Those actions altered outcomes," the core said. "Probability curves adjusted." "See," I said, "I'm a menace." She stepped between me and the platform. "No." Her voice echoed slightly, and I felt it more than heard it. "He is not a threat," she said. "He is a variable that reduces violence." The core pulsed. "Your assessment conflicts with your orders." "Yes," she said, "it does." The air grew heavier. I had the distinct sense that somewhere very far away, extremely important beings were paying attention. "Envoy," the core said, "you are authorized to enact termination." She closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, there was resolve there, clear and unwavering. "I refuse." The word landed like a physical force. I exhaled a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "Well, that's nice to hear." She glanced at me. "Do not make this harder." Bright, serious face. I have one of those somewhere. The core's light intensified. "Refusal constitutes insubordination. Consequences will follow." "I am aware," she said. "I have lived with consequences my entire life." The projections vanished, the room dimmed, systems powering down around us. "Arbitration concluded," the core announced. "Subject cleared, envoy status revised." Silence fell. I looked at her. "So what now?" She let out a slow breath. "Now I am no longer what I was." "That sounds significant." "It is," she said. "I have chosen compassion over obedience. That cannot be undone." I shifted my weight. "For what it's worth, I'm honored to be worth defecting over." One ear twitched. "Do not let it go to your head." The station trembled again, but this time it felt like relief rather than danger. Systems stabilized. Lights steadied. We walked back through the corridors together, the path clearer now, the air less heavy.